Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife news video. Today, I've got some new stuff to share with you, some interesting stories, and then a little bit about the channel as well. So first off, this is going to be primarily focused on some new products that are coming out that I want to tell you about and give my feedback on a little bit and get your feedback as well. So make sure, I would love to hear about the new stuff that you're seeing that you're really excited about, because there's some new stuff that either has just come out in the last few days or is coming out in the next few days that is certainly on my radar screen, and I'd like to hear some of the stuff that's maybe on yours. Also, when we get down to knife business and knife culture, those are areas that conversation is really helpful surrounding that. So make sure that you weigh in with some of your thinking on that stuff as well. By the way, I know you can see I'm wearing camo. That's because this is sort of in commemoration of turkey season, which is going on right now. Turkeys have great eyesight, so you got to be in the camo so that they can't spot you out there. And if you're having a struggle with your turkey hunt this year, here is a turkey. Now this way you can say, look, I've been having a hard time. I haven't seen much, but I did at least see one turkey, just didn't get a chance to shoot it. And by the way, this is the only turkey I've seen in the last few weeks as well. Some bad weather has come through and really messed up the turkey behavior. And then where I was hunting, the farmer has spread manure all over the cornfield where the turkeys were feeding and where I'd been watching them feeding. So I may have to readdress my strategy. Anyway, let's get into some of the new stuff that's going on that I want to talk about with you. First up, the Olamic Swish is now available. Eugene said the other day on Instagram that you can go to the website, you can buy your knife, and that that pre-order should all be filled by the end of the month. So before Blade, if you go now today, fill in the pre-order, pay your money, you should get your knife by the end of the month, which is pretty exciting stuff. And the Swish is a really cool knife, guys. I did the 247 or the 24/7 a few months ago. Great knife. The Swish, for everything that I can read and figure out on it, looks like a knife that would be more appealing to me for sure. Let's see. Oh yeah. Production Medford Praetorian. This is interesting. If you're a big fan of Medford knives, I'm kind of, whatever. But this is kind of interesting. They have decided to put out a production version of the Medford Praetorian. Now, it's not a titanium frame lock. It's a G10 liner lock knife with D2 steel. And the price point on this, and this is where they really lose me. Up to that point, I was like, hey, this is kind of an interesting idea. I probably won't want one, but I'm sure there'll be tons of people who do. Anyway, now the production Praetorian is available. It's on Blade HQ right now. You can go buy one, but it's $390, which to me is very, very high for what you're getting. Okay, I'm sure they're hand assembled, and I'm sure the tolerances are very good. But I can buy a Spyderco that's hand assembled with great tolerances with G10 and better steel than D2 for a heck of a lot less. Okay, so that's kind of a problem for me. Consider that this knife with D2 steel is like $42. Okay, anyway, if you're a huge Medford fan and you've been waiting to buy a Praetorian but you just haven't had the funds, or you're close, maybe you've saved up 500 and they're like 7, well, here's an option that may be appealing to you. By the way, I'm wondering if at that price you still get the Jackknife comic book or not. I'm hoping you do. All right. Let's see, Ruger, CRKT Ruger knives. They've got a new knife coming out. And again, I brought this one up because I want to talk about the Ruger knives a little bit. It's a cool collaboration, and they've done some interesting things that are kind of outside the box. And because of that, I'm sure they will eventually hit on a knife that I'm totally into. Hasn't happened yet, and this one was really, really close. When I initially looked at it, I was like, that's a nice looking knife. Looks like about the right size, about the right shape, really nice looks. But then I saw that it's only tip down carry, and I saw that it's like 7 ounces and more. So those two things kind of put me off, but boy, it's a nice looking knife and really, really close. And so I think it's just a matter of time before I see one of the CRKT Ruger knives that I really like. Next, I want to tell you about the Jaros Woodsman. Really nice looking knife. By the way, the Woodsman, it's going to be sort of a semi-custom knife, fixed blade from Jesse Jaros, who does great stuff. You've probably seen a lot of his collaborations with Ka-Bar. You've seen on this channel, I had the Jaros K2, which was a great knife. He's got another custom folder, and I just can't think of the name of it. Sorry about that. But anyway, he's coming out with a really nice fixed blade called the Woodsman. Looks really, really awesome. And the price point is the big thing about this, okay? 180 bucks, 170 and change, I just can't remember. But basically call it 180 bucks and you're gonna get a semi-custom, maybe even full, I don't know what's happening. I'm assuming that blanks are coming to Jesse cut out and that handle scales are coming cut out and he's just doing the finishing work, probably grinding the blades and assembling. But still, that's a hand-assembled, nearly handmade knife for 180 bucks, which is awesome, okay? They are in his AEBL steel, which is, I mean, it's a fine steel and the performance was certainly good on it on the K2 that I had. That's a pretty exciting thing and I will be looking to get my hands on one of these for sure. Thinking of knives I'm looking to get my hands on, Stedman. If you're a fan of the Stedman Shy, and it's been out for I think 3 years now. It initially came out as a titanium frame lock, and then they did some liner lock ones last year, or maybe even the year before, in high-end steel S35VN or something. Well, now they've come out this year with the same model, but in 440C and at a budget price point of like 57 bucks. So still all the cool colors available. I haven't got one yet, but this is a knife I definitely want to check out at a pretty reasonable price point. Benchmade slip joint, that's cool. To my knowledge, Benchmade has not done a slip joint before. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it's pretty neat to see them move in that direction. Everyone else has at least one. You know, Spyderco has a few, Cold Steel has a few, CRKT, I'm pretty sure has a few, Buck, you know, all the companies have a few slip joints. Benchmade up to this point, as to my knowledge, had not, and so it's pretty cool to see them do this, and I think it's the right time to do it. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. To me, you know, it's not a knife that I'm going to run out and buy, but it is a knife that I'll kind of keep my eye on. Of course, thinking of new stuff, I've got to get out my Bodega. This knife has been in my pocket a lot lately. Really, really exciting news. And, you know, knowing that, you know, I've watched the Steelcraft series, I have. I'm a fan of Todd Begg's designs, but haven't found anything really appealing until this guy came out. So now, you know, that this is out, I'm pretty happy about it. And I'm sure a lot of people who wanted a Bodega for a long time and just not been able to get one, this will satisfy them. Certainly it satisfies me. Okay, there you go. Let's see, move on to knife business. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is the Kershaw Microtech lawsuit. It's ongoing. However, the lawsuit between Microtech and Everyday Commentary has been settled, and it sounds like they sort of settled that amicably. They got together, they talked it out, and said, let's do this, okay? And that's good to see. That was a really troubling thing because, you know, here's a knife reviewer facing a lawsuit for commenting on the knife industry, and that's a little troubling for all of us reviewers. Now, of course, you know, there are laws that say you're not allowed to slander someone, you're not allowed to go out of your way to hurt their business. Now, you know, I'm a reviewer, and so I do always say this is my opinion, but I have said knives are terrible, right? I've reviewed a few knives that I just didn't like and couldn't recommend. I don't think that can get you in trouble. This was a little bit different, I know, but it still was pretty scary. Anyway, that has been resolved, and the way they've kind of done it is Everyday Commentary is going to do some community service for the knife industry, and that's kind of cool. He is a lawyer, so that's kind of cool. And I guess also he surrendered some communication between him and Kai to Microtech, not Microsoft, Microtech, to help them with their ongoing lawsuit with Kai. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Along those lines, guys, I am pretty interested in the Natrix. And in fact, I may even have to go and check out a 0770 because of, you know, it sort of got me thinking along those lines. So if someone's got one to sell, you know, shoot me a DM, shoot me a message, and maybe I'd be interested. Let's move on now to something else that's going on. This has been an ongoing thing. A few months ago, some people noticed, and now the market is responding to the fact that there seems to be a softening knife market, especially for customs and for really high-end stuff. And I think that was definitely a bubble that could not stick around forever. There's still plenty of opportunity out there And I think knives in general are growing in popularity, but, you know, I get that the market can't bear $400, $500, $600, $700 for a folder, especially a mid-tech. That makes sense to me. Okay, so if you're, you know, and by the way, let me share with you some of the things that are kind of happening as a result of that. I think the Production Praetorian is a result of that. I think the Jaros fixed blade is a result of that. Jason Brous has long since, you know, he adjusted his business model a while back to offer some stuff at a more budget-friendly price point. John Grimsmo said in a video that I watched a couple of months back that he was doing the same thing. WE knives, they used to be pretty much all of them across the board were $295. Now a bunch of them, not only after, like a bunch of them are listed at their standard price now for something around $250, I think $252 or something like that. If you're into high-end knives and if you like really, really nice stuff, it's kind of, you know, that's kind of good news. I understand if you're a maker or a retailer, that's a little problematic. But I do think some of those knives were selling for a little bit of an inflated price anyway, sort of like the way the Hinderers were a while back. Now, let's talk about knife culture. There was a story in the New York Times about UK youth carrying knives. I don't know why the New York Times would carry this or why I'd be interested, but initially I was like, oh, that's cool. More young people are carrying knives, but of course they didn't think so. They presented it very negatively, and you know, these kids are stabbing each other and all of that. Well, part of this is, you know, you were kind of warned, okay? When you make really strict gun laws, people are gonna, you know, people who want to commit violent acts are gonna find other ways to do that if gun laws are really strict. And in this case, you've got young kids who, you know, they're not the kind of street thugs who are going to be criminals and go out and find a gun, but you know, everyone can open a kitchen drawer and throw a knife in their pocket, and that seems to be what's happening. Either that, or they're buying those super dangerous zombie knives, which were mentioned specifically in this story. And every time I see that, I just have to laugh. You know, I don't know how Nick survives with all those Z hunters in his house. I'm surprised they haven't, you know, leapt on him and cut him to smithereens in the night when he least expects it. Anyway, you know, those zombie knives are terribly, terribly dangerous. On the other hand, in Canada, I've heard a few recent stories about people ordering knives and having them come across the border and getting to them in good time, and that's always very, very positive to hear. And thinking of that, I want to get your feedback on some Canadian content ideas that I have. I'd like to do maybe a couple of videos on buying knives in Canada, selling knives in Canada, on just the general perception of carrying a knife in Canada. And certainly I'd like to have some discussion about city versus country, because that's definitely a thing here in Meaford where I live. Lots of people carry knives. It's not a big deal. Although, thinking of that, I do know some people who were asked by police, hey, you're not allowed to carry that. And I'm working on a video, by the way, I've got it sort of in the planning stages, where I'll have a cop come on and talk about some of that. You know, if you're pulled over, if you're arrested, if a cop stops you to talk to you and you're carrying a knife, what are they thinking about it? What are they going to stop you for? What are they going to not care about? What circumstances and conditions influence that? So look for that video coming up. As well, guys, my two quick things of content that are coming up that people have been asking about. I will have a couple of spinner videos. I'm going to ask my son Joel, who is really into spinners, even though I'm not. He's going to help me with a couple of spinner videos. And probably next week I will put out my favorite YouTube channels, and as a sort of component of that, I'll talk about what I look for in YouTube knife channels and in YouTube knife reviews. Finally, thanks a lot for watching. If you're still here at this point, go ahead and tell me about a knife that you've seen in a TV show or movie recently. Of course, you know, I want it to be a recognizable knife. You saw a Spyderco such and such. You saw, you know, a Cold Steel or a Buck, whatever. Something that you saw recently in a TV show or movie, and I'll take those names who do that and enter you in a draw, and I'll give away a few knife bag packs. I think they're 5-bag packs. All right, thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to go over and check out Knife News for the rest of the story on all this stuff, and we will talk to you soon.